Did you know that one of the most intense confrontations inside the British royal family reportedly happened behind closed palace doors, and almost no one was supposed to hear about it? It wasn't between rivals in politics. It wasn't even between strangers. It was between Princess and Queen Camilla. And according to insiders, the argument centered on a shocking warning about Prince William and his future coronation. But what exactly happened inside those palace walls? And why did and reportedly draw such a hard line? Inside the British royal family, disagreements rarely become public. The palace has always followed one quiet rule: problems are handled behind closed doors. But sometimes, even centuries of royal discipline cannot stop tensions from rising. And according to several royal commentators and palace insiders, one of those tense moments reportedly involved Princess and Queen Camilla. At first glance, the two women appear very different, and is known for her strict discipline and no-nonsense attitude. Camilla, on the other hand, is often described as calm and diplomatic. But both hold powerful positions within the royal family. Here is a surprising fact many people don't know. For several years, Princess Anne has consistently been ranked as the hardest-working royal, often completing more official duties each year than any other family member. Royal records frequently show her attending hundreds of events annually, and learned that dedication from her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled Britain for more than 70 years. During that time, Elizabeth constantly reminded her children that the monarchy survives only through duty and discipline. But loyalty to tradition can sometimes create tension, because the royal family has changed dramatically in recent decades. When King Charles III married Queen Camilla in 2005, the public reaction was deeply divided. Many people still remembered the painful history involving Princess Diana, whose story had captured global sympathy. In fact, early palace plans once suggested Camilla might never be called Queen. Instead, officials discussed giving her the title Princess Consort. That plan quietly changed years later when Elizabeth expressed her support for Camilla becoming Queen Consort. That decision surprised many royal watchers. And according to several commentators who follow palace affairs closely, some senior members of the family were cautious about how quickly Camilla's position had grown, especially when conversations began shifting toward the future of the monarchy. Because one day, the crown will pass to Prince William. And when that day comes, the structure of the royal household could change dramatically. Here's another little-known fact. Every new monarch in British history has reorganized the royal court in some way, sometimes removing roles, sometimes creating new ones, and sometimes quietly reshaping who holds influence. Which brings us back to the moment insiders claim sparked tension. During a private discussion about future royal ceremonies, including the distant planning of Prince William's future coronation, and reportedly made her views very clear. Some reports claim her message was firm, direct, and impossible to misunderstand. But what exactly was said during that conversation? And why did it reportedly send shockwaves through palace corridors? Because if the rumors are true, that confrontation was only the beginning. Royal history is full of secrets. Not small secrets. Big ones. Plans made decades before the public ever hears about them. And when it comes to coronations, those plans can begin years, even generations, in advance. That's exactly what many royal historians say about the future of Prince William. One day, he will become king. But what many people don't realize is that preparations for a future monarch often begin quietly while the current king is still on the throne. Behind palace walls, advisors study tradition, write ceremonial plans, and discuss the structure of the future royal court. Here's a surprising fact. The last British coronation, for Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, took more than a year of planning. Thousands of officials worked on the ceremony. The crown jewels were inspected, ancient rituals were reviewed, and the entire event was carefully rehearsed. But today, things may not be exactly the same. Because the monarchy has changed. Public expectations are different. Media scrutiny is stronger. And younger royals like Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, represent a new generation. In fact, opinion polls in Britain often show William and Catherine among the most trusted members of the royal family. Their modern image, focused on charity work, mental health awareness, and family life, has helped strengthen public support for the monarchy. But behind that popularity, palace insiders say there are difficult conversations happening. Conversations about what the monarchy will look like in the future. And one of the most sensitive questions involves the role of senior figures once the crown changes hands, including Queen Camilla. Historically, royal step-parents have not always remained central figures after a new monarch takes power. In earlier centuries, their influence often faded once the next generation took control of the throne. Some historians believe this tradition still influences how certain royals think today. And that may explain why Princess Anne is often described as fiercely protective of royal structure and protocol. Here's another little-known fact. Anne once declined the chance to give royal titles to her own children when they were born. She believed it would give them a more normal life outside intense public pressure. That decision shocked many observers at the time. It also revealed something important about Anne's character. She values duty and stability above status. So when discussions reportedly turned toward the future royal court of Prince William, Anne's position may not have been surprising to those who know her well. According to several royal commentators, the conversation inside palace circles allegedly focused on who would play visible roles in future royal ceremonies. Who would stand beside the new king? Who would represent the monarchy on the global stage? And who might quietly step back? These are sensitive questions. Questions that can reshape relationships inside the royal family. Because when power shifts, influence often shifts with it. And according to reports circulating among royal watchers, it was during one of these private discussions that Anne reportedly delivered a message that stunned the room. A warning about the future. But here's the part that makes the story even more mysterious. No official statement has ever confirmed what was said. Yet rumors of that conversation began spreading through royal media circles. And once journalists started asking questions, the quiet palace tension suddenly became a public story. But the real storm was only just beginning. Because when the media caught wind of the whispers, the headlines exploded. When whispers from inside the palace reach the outside world, they rarely stay whispers for long. In modern Britain, royal stories move fast. Very fast. Within hours, rumors can travel from quiet royal commentary circles to headlines across the globe. That's exactly what happened when speculation began circulating about tension between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla. At first, the reports were subtle. A few royal commentators hinted that discussions about the future of the monarchy had become unusually tense. Some suggested there had been strong opinions expressed about the role certain royals might play when Prince William eventually becomes king. But once the idea of a possible confrontation entered the conversation, the media attention exploded. Here's a fascinating fact about the British royal press system. For decades, the monarchy operated under an unofficial agreement with many newspapers known as the Royal Rota. This system allowed selected journalists special access to royal events, but it also meant that certain stories were reported carefully, often with palace cooperation. That system worked well in the 20th century. But the modern media world is very different. Today, online news outlets, social media platforms, and royal commentators analyze every small detail, from body language at public events to subtle changes in royal titles. And when the rumored disagreement involving Princess Anne began circulating, it sparked an avalanche of speculation. Some media outlets focused on Anne's reputation. She is widely known for being direct, disciplined, and deeply loyal to royal tradition. Many insiders describe her as someone who speaks plainly, even when the truth is uncomfortable. That reputation alone made the story feel believable to many royal watchers. But the discussion quickly moved beyond personalities. Instead, journalists began examining the bigger question: what will the royal family look like in the future? Because when Prince of Wales eventually becomes king, the structure of the royal household could change dramatically. History shows that every monarch reshapes the court around them. For example, when Queen Elizabeth II took the throne in 1952, she introduced younger advisors and modernized certain royal practices. The monarchy slowly adapted to television, global media, and a rapidly changing world. Now, many analysts believe Prince William's reign could bring another transformation. And that raises an uncomfortable question for some senior royals. Where will they fit into the next chapter of the monarchy? Some commentators began wondering whether figures closely tied to the reign of King Charles III might eventually step back when William becomes king. Others argued the royal family would remain united, with experienced figures continuing to support the next generation. But the speculation didn't stop there. Because another powerful force was now involved: public opinion. Opinion polls across Britain often show that William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, are among the most popular members of the royal family. Their image as a modern, family-focused couple resonates strongly with younger audiences. That popularity has led some analysts to believe William may choose a smaller, streamlined monarchy in the future. Fewer senior royals, fewer official roles, and a stronger focus on the direct line of succession. If that happens, it could quietly reshape the influence of many figures within the palace. Which is why the rumored warning attributed to Princess Anne sparked so much attention. Was it simply a disagreement? Or was it a glimpse into the future power structure of the monarchy? Because if the media frenzy revealed anything, it was this. The British public wasn't just interested in one royal argument. They were fascinated by what it might mean for the crown itself. And inside the palace, the pressure was only growing. But the biggest challenge was still ahead. Because the rumored disagreement was not just a public story anymore. It had become a family issue. And royal family conflicts can be far more complicated than any headline suggests. Inside the royal family, loyalty is expected. Tradition demands it. But history shows that even the most powerful royal households are not immune to personal tensions. And when rumors of disagreement surfaced involving Princess Anne and Queen Camilla, royal watchers immediately began looking deeper. Because behind every royal ceremony lies something the public rarely sees: family relationships. And those relationships can be complicated. To understand the tension, many historians point to the long and dramatic history surrounding King Charles III, Princess Diana, and Camilla. It's a story that shaped public opinion for decades. Here's a fact that still surprises many people. When Diana and Charles separated in the early 1990s, the royal family faced one of the biggest public relations crises in its modern history. Newspapers around the world followed every development, from leaked phone calls to televised interviews. In fact, during her famous 1995 interview, Diana spoke openly about the emotional struggles inside her marriage. That moment changed how millions of people viewed the royal family. And although years have passed since those events, the memory of that chapter still echoes through royal discussions today. When Camilla eventually married King Charles III in 2005, the palace worked carefully to rebuild her public image. Over time, she gained respect for supporting charities and quietly performing royal duties. But not every member of the royal family experienced that transition in the same way. Some insiders have long described Princess Anne as someone who sees the monarchy primarily through the lens of duty and structure, and rarely seeks attention, rarely gives interviews, and almost never comments on royal drama. That silence is part of her reputation. Yet those who know Anne's character say something important about her personality. When she believes a principle is at stake, she does not easily compromise. And here's another surprising detail about Anne's life. In 1974, when a man attempted to kidnap her in London, Anne calmly refused to cooperate and reportedly told him, "Not likely." The moment became legendary and reinforced her reputation for being fearless and direct. So when palace discussions reportedly turned toward the long-term future of the monarchy, Anne's strong views may not have surprised those close to the royal household. Because the next generation of the monarchy is already taking shape. At the center of that future stands Prince William. William represents continuity for the crown, but also change. Many observers believe his future reign will look different from the monarchy of previous decades. Some insiders describe it as a modern monarchy, smaller, more focused, and more connected to public concerns. And that raises difficult questions for senior figures who built their roles during earlier eras. Where do they fit when the next king takes the throne? Will the royal court remain large and traditional? Or will it shrink, concentrating power around the new monarch and his immediate family? These questions can quietly reshape relationships inside the palace. Because in a family as historic as this one, influence is never just symbolic. It affects public roles, responsibilities, and visibility. According to some royal commentators, it was during discussions about these future changes that tensions may have surfaced between Anne and Camilla. Not necessarily out of personal dislike, but out of different views about the monarchy's direction. And is often described as a guardian of royal tradition. Camilla, meanwhile, rose into the center of the institution later in life, after decades of public scrutiny. Two different paths. Two different perspectives. And perhaps two different visions of the monarchy's future. But the real challenge was not just internal disagreement. Because by now, the public conversation was growing louder. Royal analysts, historians, and journalists were all asking the same question. Was the monarchy preparing for a major shift when Prince William eventually becomes king? Or were these rumors simply another example of media speculation around the royal family? One thing, however, was becoming clear. The palace could no longer rely entirely on silence. Because the deeper the story spread through the media, the harder it became to control the narrative. And soon, the situation would reach a new level, one involving not just family dynamics, but public perception and legal realities surrounding the crown itself. When royal disagreements become public stories, the palace faces a serious challenge. Not just a family problem, but a constitutional one. Because the British monarchy is not only a family. It is also an institution built on laws, traditions, and centuries of carefully protected protocol. And once rumors about tension involving Princess Anne and Queen Camilla began spreading widely, royal commentators started asking a much deeper question. What power do royal family members actually have over future coronations? Here's a surprising fact many people don't know. The British monarch cannot simply design their coronation alone. The ceremony follows traditions that date back almost 1,000 years, and many of the rules are shaped by both church law and government protocol. For example, every coronation takes place at Westminster Abbey, a tradition that has continued since 1066. That means the planning of such an event involves more than just the royal household. Government officials, church leaders, historians, and ceremonial experts all play important roles, which makes speculation about future coronations even more complicated. When discussions began circulating about the possible future ceremony of Prince William, analysts started debating what the event might look like. Because William has hinted before that he supports a modernized monarchy. Some observers believe that could mean a smaller ceremony, fewer working royals, and a more streamlined royal household. That idea alone sparked public debate. Supporters argued that a smaller monarchy would make the institution more efficient and relatable to modern society. Critics, however, worried that reducing traditional roles could weaken historic royal customs. But the controversy didn't stop there. Some royal commentators suggested that if the monarchy becomes smaller, certain ceremonial roles might quietly disappear over time. And that raises an important legal question. Who decides who participates in a coronation? Here's another little-known fact. The monarch has significant influence over the structure of their court, but official ceremonies often involve government consultation and centuries-old protocol guidelines. In other words, decisions are rarely simple. That complexity fueled even more speculation when media outlets began discussing the rumored disagreement between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla. If Anne had indeed expressed strong views about the future royal court, as some commentators suggested, those views would likely reflect her deep commitment to traditional royal structure. And Anne's experience inside the institution is enormous. She has spent decades representing the crown at official events, diplomatic visits, and charitable missions. In fact, royal statistics frequently show that Anne performs hundreds of public engagements every year, sometimes more than any other working royal. That dedication has earned her a reputation for protecting the monarchy's stability. But the public reaction to the rumors revealed something else entirely. People were no longer just debating one conversation. They were debating the future of the monarchy itself. Polls in Britain have shown strong support for Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, especially among younger generations. Many see them as symbols of a more modern royal era. At the same time, respect for long-serving figures like Princess Anne remains extremely high. And Queen Camilla has gradually improved her public image after years of controversy. In other words, the monarchy now includes several powerful personalities, each representing different chapters of royal history, which makes transitions between generations especially delicate. Because every change in royal leadership can reshape roles, influence, and visibility. And according to some royal historians, these transitions are rarely smooth behind palace walls. They often involve careful negotiations, private conversations, and quiet compromises. The palace rarely reveals those discussions. But occasionally, fragments escape into the public conversation. And once they do, speculation becomes unstoppable. Which brings us to the final question surrounding this story. Was the rumored confrontation simply a misunderstanding amplified by media attention? Or was it a glimpse into deeper discussions about how the monarchy will evolve under Prince William? Because if history teaches us anything about royal transitions, it is this. The most important decisions are often made quietly, long before the public ever hears about them. And according to some royal analysts, the final chapter of this story may not have happened yet. Because the real test of the monarchy will come when the next era officially begins. And when that moment arrives, the world will finally see how the royal family chooses to shape its future. In the British royal family, time changes everything. Kings rise, queens reign, and generations slowly pass the crown to the next heir. But every transition carries tension. Every transition forces the monarchy to redefine itself. And that is why discussions about the future reign of Prince William have captured so much attention. Because when William eventually becomes king, the monarchy will enter a completely new era. And history tells us something fascinating. Almost every British monarch has quietly reshaped the institution when they took power. Some changed royal finances. Others restructured the royal court. A few even changed how the monarchy communicated with the public. One of the most famous examples came from Queen Elizabeth II. When she became queen in 1952, the royal family was still adjusting to television. Her coronation the following year became the first coronation ever broadcast live on television, watched by millions around the world. At the time, some palace advisors feared it would damage the mystique of the crown. Instead, it strengthened the monarchy's connection with the public. That moment proved something powerful. The royal family survives by adapting. And many observers believe the same principle will guide Prince William when his time comes. William has often spoken about modernizing royal duties, focusing more on causes that matter to younger generations, like environmental protection, mental health awareness, and homelessness. In fact, one of his most ambitious projects, the Earthshot Prize, aims to encourage global solutions to environmental challenges. But modernizing the monarchy also raises difficult questions. Because modernization often means change. And change can affect long-established roles within the royal household. This is where the rumored tension involving Princess and Queen Camilla continues to fascinate royal watchers. Not because of personal rivalry, but because it may reflect deeper questions about how the monarchy will evolve. Here's a little-known royal fact. When a new monarch takes the throne, they have the authority to reorganize the royal household almost entirely. Advisors can change, ceremonial positions can shift, and the structure of royal duties can be redesigned. This means that every new reign creates a fresh balance of influence inside the palace. Some historians believe William's future reign could bring one of the most streamlined royal structures in modern history. Fewer working royals. More focus on the direct line of succession. And greater emphasis on public engagement rather than traditional ceremony. If that happens, it would represent a significant shift from the larger royal households of the past. Yet transitions in royal history are rarely dramatic in public. Instead, they unfold quietly. Decisions are discussed in private meetings. Protocol advisors examine centuries of tradition. Government officials consult with palace staff. And slowly, a new structure takes shape. The public usually sees only the final result. That's why rumors of internal disagreements attract so much attention. They offer rare glimpses into conversations that normally remain secret. But here is the truth many royal historians emphasize. Despite occasional tensions, the British royal family has survived far greater crises. The abdication of King Edward VIII in 1936 nearly shook the monarchy to its core. His decision to give up the throne for love shocked the nation and forced the crown to pass unexpectedly to his brother. Later decades brought new challenges. The tragic death of Princess Diana in 1997 created one of the most emotional moments in modern royal history. Public grief was overwhelming, and the monarchy faced intense criticism over how it initially responded. Yet each time, the institution adapted. Each time, the monarchy continued. Which brings us to the most important point in this entire story. The British royal family is not just about individuals. It is about continuity. About an institution that has lasted for more than 1,000 years through wars, political change, and cultural transformation. And when Prince William eventually steps forward to take the crown, that long history will guide the decisions that follow. Who stands beside the new king? Who represents the monarchy on the world stage? and how the royal family defines itself for a new generation. The answers to those questions may already be forming inside the palace. Quietly, carefully, far away from the cameras. But if royal history teaches us anything, it's this. The most surprising moments often come when the crown changes hands. And when that day arrives, the world may finally understand what today's whispered palace conversations were truly about. Because the next chapter of the monarchy could change everything. Royal history is rarely simple. Behind the glittering ceremonies, the crowns, and the royal titles, there is always something deeper. Family relationships, private conversations, and decisions that shape the future of the monarchy. The rumors of tension involving Princess and Queen Camilla may or may not reflect the full truth of what happened inside palace walls. Royal households rarely reveal their private discussions. But what this story truly reveals is something much bigger. The monarchy is entering a new chapter. One day, Prince William will inherit the crown. And when that moment arrives, the institution will once again adapt, just as it has done many times before. History shows that every monarch reshapes the royal family in their own way. From the televised coronation of Queen Elizabeth II to the modern public role embraced by William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, the monarchy has constantly evolved to survive changing times. And that raises a fascinating question. Will the next royal era become smaller, more modern, and more focused on the direct line of succession? Or will tradition remain exactly as it has been for centuries? Only time will reveal the answer. But one thing is certain, the future of the British monarchy will continue to captivate the world. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the royal family will ever fully recover from internal scandals and rumors? What would happen if future kings completely reshape the royal court? And should the monarchy become smaller to reflect modern society? If you enjoyed uncovering these royal secrets, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more royal exposés and hidden stories from inside the palace.